and more hostage takings by disgruntled workers in France. Details soon on New Zealand's most comprehensive half hour of news and information. That is just 6 minutes away on Radio Live.
6 to 7, Bernard Hickey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good chunk of time this morning, Bernard. Eat the bankers, you like that billboard, don't you?
Boy, the G20 summit in London is going to be the biggest show in town in the next few days. It's going to be a big, nasty protest. We all remember those riots in Seattle around the World Trade Organization. Well, there is some extra feeling behind these protests that will happen in London. There are a lot more people unemployed now. There's a lot of anarchists out there who are looking for a really good fight, and here's one where the public are probably behind them.
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
when they come out and say the bankers deserve to get it. In fact, we had one banker in Britain, a 66-year-old, say he was going to wear his suit to work those days. Everyone's been recommended they don't wear their suits to work. And he was quite happy to stand up for himself because he'd done his boxing and he'd played rugby and he was going to...
They've got no idea. They've got no idea about the outrage against them. You got any YouTube picks for us today?
YouTube. There's a good one I can recommend, which is a fantastic explanation of why Obama's public-private partnership toxic debt plan will actually just deliver even more money to bankers.
Okay.
And I'll
give it to Phil. We'll see if we can play.
Yes,
How long does it go for? Minutes or hours?
This one is a bit longer, so
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it on live radio.
Okay. The broadband plan, you like this?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's not just throwing a bunch of money at telecom and saying, go and spend it. This is building a fund which will then go around the country and find lots of little hotspots where we need broadband. Because the problem in New Zealand is not so much we need a big fibre from Bluff to Kerikeri. This is, we need fibre in various towns and between some cities. And it really is a patchwork quilt of fibre that needs to be laid. And what the government is saying is we've got a fund. It will go out and invest in lots of these little fibre projects, often done by power companies. You know, when they're laying their cables, they dig an extra trench and they put in some dark fibre, as they call it. The key thing, it's going to be open. So every phone company will be able to go to this Crown company and say, we want to use it. And the Crown company will say, yeah, go for it, and charge a reasonable price. But it won't be Telecom making that decision. And this is the positive thing about that. The government have said, here's some money, and we're going to get some private sector money as well, up to $3 billion, half of it government, half of it private. We're going to put this money into these little fibre projects and open it up to everyone. And I think that's the way to do it in a measured way across the country over the next 10 years. I think the industry likes it, and I think it'll actually make some stuff happen. It may not happen like immediately, but it will happen, and it's good.
Trademe are growing. They continue to grow even under the ownership of Fairfax. That's
right. In the last day or so, they've just announced that they're buying a online site called holidayhouses.co.nz. They've tried expanding away from their original business a couple of times. They set up a thing called Travel Bug, which hasn't been a huge success. It has
Never
to be
heard
said.
of it.
Yeah, it's a...
More of a success than Mint Shop, though.
Yeah, well, that's right. That was a disaster. That was a...
Never looked good from the very beginning.
This was set up by a bunch of TV ad agency executives who love their ads so much they thought everyone else would love their ads. Dumb idea. And Mark Ellis should stick to reality TV because that's where he's very, very good. But he's not so very, very good at running an online business. And so, yes, Trademe will try that, Holiday Houses.
Do we know who owned it? Do we know how much they got for it?
It's a couple, so it's a small business. We don't know how much
in the
got
millions,
for it.
7 figures?
Oh, I doubt it. It's pretty small. What it does is when you've got your holiday home, you put it out for others to come and rent it. And in fact, I love these sorts of sites. For we've got a family, and whenever we go to the beach, we don't even think about buying a batch.
Why would you buy a batch? Why would you buy a batch for 2 weeks of the year?
No. What you do is you rent someone else's batch, and this is where you go to get it, Holiday Houses, and there are others as well, Holiday Homes, Book a Batch, that sort of thing. So it's a nice little niche part of the internet, and Trademe are dipping their toe in there. Not a major story, but interesting. They're spreading their wings.
Okay. The US government of the Federal Reserve has spent, lent or guaranteed $12.8 trillion. Tell me about that amount.
Well, someone's sort of pulled the bits of bailout money together, and the money that's been printed and the money that's been given away, and worked out that in the last year, they've given away, borrowed, spent $12.8 trillion, which is almost as much as the entire US GDP for 1 year. If you can just imagine, in New Zealand terms, that's about 180 billion. So it'd be like John Key coming out and, over the last wee while, with Alan Bollard, spending $180 billion. It's astonishing how much money is being borrowed, spent, and printed in the States. And this is the reason why interest rates long-term are rising, why long-term interest rates again are rising today. Kiwibank will announce today at 8 o'clock that it is increasing its 2-year fixed-rate mortgage over 6%. Now, this is
because there's so much money sloshing around, it's inflationary.
Exactly. And so people are demanding more for their money for the long term. Ironically, in New Zealand, we're going to see very short-term rates drop slightly, but the long-term rates, the sort of 2-year, 3-year, 4-year fixed rate mortgages are rising and quite fast, and that's why we're seeing a lot of people try to fix.
It's a tricky old economy, isn't it? You'll be in tomorrow for half an hour as well to answer the money point, and there'll be plenty of those as well, as there always has been. Good stuff. Thank you so much for that. Eat the bankers. Fantastic. 7 o'clock, here's Hillary with the World at 7.
From the Worldwide Resort